So you set up a pilot project using Scrum. How do you make sure it's a success? That's an interesting one. So how do you make sure it's a success? It's actually quite straightforward. Okay? Give the team what they need. That is a person in a product owner role who has the ability to make decisions. Okay? Who can keep things moving forward. Somebody who the whole organisation respects the authority of. A group of developers who have all the skills that are needed, are really passionate about solving a goal, okay, and give them that goal, okay, and a person who acts in this coach role, this Scrum Master, who is willing to have difficult conversations across the organisation, okay, and that will go out there and solve problems and then work with them to uncover and resolve all the things slowing that team down. That's really easy. I'll be honest. People ask this question all the time, and it's like, all you have to do is stop getting in the way of your teams. Right? Move the things in your organisation out of the way, and it will be a success. Because very often, the reason companies can't deliver well is not that they have bad people, and it's because the organisation has gotten in the way. There's policies, there's bureaucracy, there's governance procedures, there's a whole load of things that don't add value. In fact, they very often delay the creation of value for no great benefit. So you can do that. That's really easy. My question is, why do that? Okay? Why go out of your way to make your pilot project successful? What you are doing is setting people in the future up for failure. You have a pilot project. There's been big announcements. The great and the good have come together to look at it and really help that one team succeed. Nobody in the future is going to get that. So you're not actually running a pilot. You're running this special little project that can do all these things because the great and the good are interested in seeing it succeed. They're willing to go that extra mile. And once it succeeds, yay, let's do it across the organisation. You start rolling it out. But the great and the good aren't about anymore, and they're not willing to go that extra mile for each and every team's problem, and they struggle, and they become despondent, they become unmotivated. Okay, because they had it really easy. They said there was a problem, the problem was solved. We said there was a problem, and we've not heard back in 3 weeks. Well, why do we bother then? Let's just make it their problem. Okay. Pilots are an interesting idea. But they're only a pilot if they reflect the environment in which everybody else is going to work. So my question isn't how do you make these successful? That is actually very simple. I've never met a senior leader of an organisation who doesn't know how to make it successful. But why? Why focus on that one thing? Instead, let that team exist in the current world order, the current environment that organisation supplies to its product developers. Okay? And see what comes out of it. And give it a bit of extra support, nothing wrong with that. But don't have everybody doing everything they can for that team. What you want to do is find out what works here, what doesn't work here, what are we willing to change, what are we not willing to change. Okay? And let that team. It would be lovely. I've been on teams that have been in that special little world, and it's wonderful. You say you've got a problem, it's solved, you move forwards. But it doesn't actually help the organisation. What you want is that team to go through the steps that everybody else is going to have to go through and work with them and change the policies as and when they make sense. Why do we go to this governance board? Oh, actually, that's a good question. Maybe we remove that governance board for everybody. Not just you, special little poppets, everybody. And if that's a sensible decision, we can do that. But if it's not, well, you've got to stick to it as well. Maybe you can work out a way to get through that board better, quicker, more efficiently. Maybe we can change how often it convenes, but we can't get rid of it. Okay, we tried, we failed, move on to the next problem and keep doing this. What you want to do is use that pilot to understand what Scrum or any Agile approach will look like in your organisation, with the constraints that only you have, those placed on you from external parties, and that you feel the need to place on yourselves. Okay? That way, at the end of the pilot, what you will have is not a special little team that exists and works in an organisation that you don't have. What you have is a team that has learned how to make this stuff work as best they can in your organisation. You have a pattern that's not perfect, but it's working, and importantly, transferable to other teams. So that when you take it to another team, you can say, this worked for us, this didn't, and this is why. Yes, we know that's a problem, but we've kept it in place for these sound reasons. Okay? And now, what we have are teams who aren't looking at everybody else saying, well, you had it really easy because everybody did what you wanted. You'll have people saying, well, you've done this before. What worked for you? What didn't? How do we move forward? Actually, we can see a different way. Great, let's have a chat. Okay? And that will scale and it will work. Your organisation will adapt over time. Okay? But please don't go out of your way to make that one project so special and unique that you can't replicate it, because there's no value in that. If you can't replicate an experiment, it's not a useful experiment. If you can't replicate a Scrum pilot within your organisation, it's not a useful use of your time, your money, your energy. Okay? So instead of focusing on how do we make this as successful as possible, focus on how do we make this repeatable in our organisation with all of its little foibles that they all have. How do we make it work for us so that we can do it again and again and again? And what will happen is over time you will discover what Scrum looks like in your organisation, what Agile looks like in your organisation, and how your organisation will evolve over time to be better at what it needs to do. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.